go an error occurred. This is usually temporary, but I am live.
We're live. Yeah.
I'm live on YouTube, but not on LinkedIn. Let's try this again. All right. A little technical difficulties here, but I'm just gonna let I'm just gonna relax. Okay, well, live on YouTube and on StreamYard, so I'm not gonna worry about LinkedIn right now. So let's just
Okay.
go ahead and, as they say, the show must go on.
That's right.
My name is Juan Voice. I am a software engineer and I have been programming computers since the age of 11. Right now, my goal is to be a leader, and in doing that, I am doing a lot of learning right now at this phase in my life. And, one of the things you can learn how to do is tie a bow tie. It's not unlike learning leadership. So that is what we talk about here on the Power Knot. So I would like to introduce my guest. Today's guest isn't just building tech, she's building trust, resilience, and real results. Heather McLean has spent 25 years leading at the intersection of technology, logistics, and leadership. She's the kind of person who gets called in when everything's on fire and somehow walks out with a solution that not only works, but lasts. She has led agile PMOs, built high performing distributed teams, and delivered outcomes that genuinely move the needle, from saving a company on the brink of collapse to creating platforms that support families in crisis. She's also a clear-eyed voice on AI, cutting through the hype to focus on what actually drives value. This episode is about leadership with empathy, strategy over showmanship, and building with integrity. Heather doesn't just talk about impact, she delivers it. Heather, welcome to the Power Knot.
It's great to be here. Appreciate it. I've been looking forward to this.
Yes, of course. But part of what we do here is not just talk about leadership, but let's talk about the tie. So
All right.
let's see what you have.
It's what I brought. It's a good combination of paisley and plaid. I love it. Love the colors. So I'm ready. I've never done this before. I don't even know where to start.
Oh, no worries. I'll try to guide you the best I can. Part of leadership is, guiding people. So the first step is going to be very easy. We just wrap it around the neck
Okay.
for right now, and let's see. You can't see the end of my tie, but
There you go.
one end's a little longer, one end's a little shorter. And what you do is you cross long over short, pull under, and then that long end, let's just put it over the shoulder now. Uh-oh.
Am I supposed
I'll
to
do it.
size this first?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You are supposed to. I'll show you how it works on mine.
All right.
See, you have this end here. It goes into one of these
Oh,
slots, and
got
that's
it.
how you adjust it.
All
Mine
right.
doesn't have numbers, but if yours has numbers, you adjust it to your neck size.
I'm going small.
Well, okay, no
Small
worries.
neck here. Trying to get this.
Uh,
All right.
but all
Think I
right,
got it in.
so
Now I'll have a long end and a small end.
yeah, there we go. And then there's what I do is you have one end that's a little shorter, and then you cross over, tuck under, and then take that end. And right now, just like I said, throw it over your shoulder. I like to do it with a little bit of flair. Uh-oh, I'll do it slower. Okay. See, this is my short end, this is my long end.
I mean, how do I know which is short and long? They're just.
You just do this.
I
For
mean,
me, I'm right-handed, so my dominant hand, I have the short end,
okay,
and
got it.
so I'm crossing this
Got it.
long end over the short end like
All
this,
right.
and then all I'm doing is pull under, and then uh, boom, under and through. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yep. Think I got it.
Okay, cool. But you want your short end to be like this because your short end is very short. It's going to cross over and make the front bow. But that's a
Much
local
shorter.
preview of the
All right.
thing. Okay, but let's go ahead and start with impact. You once helped a company on the brink of collapse. What was that situation, and how did you turn that around?
Yeah, that was an interesting one. A couple years back, we had a very large team building a point of sale system and a mobile app for a national sandwich chain that you've probably heard of. And we this was right before COVID. Well, we've been building for probably a year or so before COVID, and then once COVID hit, we already had the mobile app live, but all the stores were sort of suffering at that point, right? Because people weren't going out, they weren't buying things. And so the client said to us, can you integrate us with DoorDash? And we think this will kind of help us get some business. And so I think we turned that around in a couple weeks, made that happen for them. And then they were able to get orders through again. And they told us a couple months later that literally saved their business, that the ability to continue to serve customers in that time, it saved them. So it was really neat to be a part of that. It was, like I said, a really large effort. It was multiple year build. And to be able to tell that story and to save that company is like, that's why we do what we do, right? To really make an impact. And that was a great example.
Nice, nice. I like that. It's funny that you said restaurant and point of sale, and I'm like, wait, that's where I work, man. But no specifics.
Yep.
Let's not embarrass anyone here. So you've led large scale programs and agile PMOs. What's the key to balancing structure with the adaptability agile demands?
That's a really good one. And that's a really hard challenge that I think companies still, struggle with today because, when you're doing waterfall, everything's decided up front, right? And so it's a little bit easier to know what's your progress, where are you at, are you behind or ahead? With agile, the whole point is that you can shift, you can flex, you can add scope, you can take away scope, you can take a different direction. But then how do you know if you're on track? How do you know? That's the big challenge is how do you know if you're going to make the deadline? How do you know if you're going to deliver? And so what we had to do is put some guidelines and templates together for our project managers to use to be able to have consistency in the information we were sharing, to, be consistent on, the types of things we were telling clients about when they're going to get the next thing, where we're at, what risks are out there. So we basically provided them some general templates and guidelines that they could adapt to each project, because each project was very different. Each customer had different expectations, but we wanted to ensure that consistency in the communication.
Okay, I
Yeah.
get it. Well, all right. Well, so let's go ahead and go to the next step. So what I like to do is you take the short end and you try to find the widest part, and then you fold it right over that widest part, and it should form your front bow right here.
Okay.
All right. And then we pull the long end over, and it should look sort of like an elephant. So you've got your little elephant ears, and you've got your elephant trunk.
Okay. Yeah.
And then, and this is step two. This is what I like to do is ask more questions while you just hold it.
Okay,
It's
got
great. Okay.
Yep.
So, you're big on building high performing distributed teams. What have you learned about creating trust and momentum across distance?
Right. I mean, we are an all virtual company, so we don't get together in person very much, and so building trust has to be done online. And so what we try to do is certainly with every new project we start, we have a full kickoff, and we don't shortchange any of the things that you need to do, including team building activities, because what we found is, you've got to build that trust quickly with a virtual team or a new team, and also with a new client. So you've got to get those team building activities in there. You've got to start getting to know each other, and you've got to walk away from that kickoff with some foundation of trust and an understanding of how you're going to communicate going forward, or things are just going to go completely sideways, right? You got to have aligned expectations. You've got to have cadences set up of when you're going to meet. But really, like, you've got to start building those relationships, because when inevitably something goes wrong, like, that's what you're going to fall back to, is that initial relationship, that foundation of trust that you've been working on since the very beginning.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. There's a lot of companies that are doing return to office. Like, how do you resist that?
I mean, we don't have an office. Number one, I never want to have an office. I've been working virtual since 2000, before 2000, and I love it, and the people that I hire love it too. And so I think if you're new to the corporate world, there are a lot of advantages of being in person, and if you're training new people, there are a lot of advantages. So I'm not going to say that there aren't. It's just not where we're at with our company. We have a lot of senior people who, we've all worked together in person at some point, or have done that thing, and so we kind of know how things work. And so I honestly don't think that the type of work we do and the type of people that I hire, we don't need to be in person to be productive. We have other systems in place, and we are all sort of senior, and so there's a way of working that's already established. And so, no, we're never going to be in an office, and I'm happy to say that. It's not for that. That approach is not for everybody, but it definitely works for us.
No, no, I get that. I mean, I'm not in my home office right now, obviously, but
Yeah.
I definitely like the flexibility, and I always say, like, you are who you are when you're not being watched,
Right.
and for me, like I said before, I've been programming since I was 11. It's something I do for fun. I don't need someone to watch me to make
Right.
sure I program. That
Now, like,
sounds
there are
insane.
good reasons to get in person, right? When you're first getting to know people, I love to do an in-person kickoff with a client, because that really helps skyrocket that trust.
Mhm.
And I love getting together for other, brainstorming, collaboration, things where you really need to be in person, or it's better in person. That's all great. And we'll get together for those things. We'll rent space and we'll bring everybody in and do those types of things. But for most of the day-to-day work, we work really well remotely.
Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. I don't know. Like for my job, it's great to be in person, get to meet all the people,
Mhm.
and see how things work and whatnot. And
Yep, especially when you're
um,
new, right? Like, that's so helpful.
yeah, but the day-to-day work, like you said, once you know people, once you know what you're doing, off
Right.
to the races.
Yeah.
Oh, then you know what? Let's go ahead and go to the next. Now, this is the hard
Alright.
step. Not to You grab your elephant's ears, you pull them forward, all right, away from your face,
Okay.
and then you pull down on the trunk. And what you should be able to do is, if you're pulling down, your fingers should be able to find a hole, and your goal is to put the base of that trunk through that hole, and that will form your back loop. And don't worry if it's a little hard,
Okay. Pull
because
the trunk. Okay, tell me again. Find the hole, and then I do what?
you pull the base of the trunk through that hole. So if you were pulling down on the trunk, then you would have a little base on it. And so I'm going to try to pull this, and then it might look like a tie. I don't know.
I think I did something wrong here, Juan.
That's okay. This is the hardest step. And based on what we see, I can
You might need to
try to
start
help
me
you.
over here.
Okay. Uh, all right. Hold on.
Let's go back to long end, short end, right?
Yeah. I'll do this relatively quickly,
Okay.
but so long over short, under and through. Boom. Tighten that up. Pull. And forgive me, I got my eyes closed, not to
All right. Now
you
I'm doing
know
the same side as you.
not to like show off, but more to like feel where I am. Right? Got
Okay.
an elephant here, pulling on the ears, feeling for that hole, and then you know what? I forgot to say this. We are live, and if you put your questions in the chat, I can see those questions. We can see those questions, so it'll be a great thing
I'm
to ask you
struggling.
questions. All right, here. And of course, as always, that's the nice thing about live. You don't know, okay, I think that looks a little better. I've got the little diamond tip. So it's a like nice little asymmetry there. Uh-oh, I think I lost you.
You did.
I'll talk you through it. Okay. Okay. You got your elephant.
I
You pull
think.
on the ears. Your ears are effectively your front loop. Okay. And what happens is if I just pull on the back loop, right? I just pulled it out of that hole. And guess what? I've got the elephant again. Does that make sense? So the key thing is to try to get to the elephant thing. That's gonna make your tie look good. But no worries. Let's get back to the questions, and we'll do this again.
All righty.
Let's talk about AI. You said AI is the next wave, like websites or cloud once were, but most companies aren't getting results. What do you think separates the winners from the rest?
I mean, that's an excellent question. And I think it's a couple things. It's one, being ready for AI. So we talk a lot about, is your data ready for AI? Because a lot of these AI projects require good, clean data. You got to know where it's coming from. And so if you're not ready for that, if you don't have that in a good state, your AI project is going to suffer. I think the other thing is um, trying to do it on your own versus finding a consultant, finding someone who already knows how to do this. I mean, of course, we recommend you hire somebody like us because we have the experience, and you're not going to be spinning your wheels. You're not going to be spending time and money learning new things. You're going to be able to get some immediate return on your investment by getting some pilot projects in place, by going with a consultant who knows what they're doing and has that experience. So I think trying to go it on your own is definitely a viable route, but it can be it can cost you more time and money than you might have right now. And kind of getting things to the market sooner is the way you're going to take advantage of some of these technologies. And if it takes you a long time or you stumble along the way, that's going to slow you down.
Oh, of course. Yes. Speaking of stumbling, let's see if we can't get this thing going. So let's see. I'll take it back to, hold on. Right now, I just have them crossed over. Right. Let's
Okay.
get that done.
Okay.
And you want it to be tight around your neck. If you have it loose around your neck, you might make it a little harder on you.
Okay. So I got short hair, long hair. Got it.
Right. And then you have your short one, and you want to put your finger on the widest part of that tie.
Yeah.
And it might be easier to pull it to the side so that because what you're going to do is you're going to fold it over. And then if it's placed right, it should be a nice loop. That's your front loop. And that's what your
Got it.
bow tie will look like.
Okay.
Okay. And see how I'm holding it right on my neck?
Yeah.
And then I'm just pulling the long end down, and then boom, we have an elephant. And you should just be able to hold it with one finger on your neck.
Okay.
All right, perfect. And let's before we go that, let's ask another question because you've made it clear you're not in this for certification or billable hours. You're about results. What does your authentic service look like in your consulting practice?
Great question. To us, it looks like white glove service. When you think about what a concierge experience is, what a white glove service is, that's how we want our clients to feel. We want them to feel special. We want them to feel like we have their best interests in mind. So when we're making decisions, when we're making suggestions, you have to act like you're spending your own money. You really want to be their best advocate. And so, that's kind of how we approach everything. We like to say we're the Chick-fil-A of consulting, right? It's my pleasure. And it really is a pleasure to serve our clients. That's how we approach it. It's not a trouble. Like, we wouldn't be in business without our clients. So it's our pleasure to be able to serve them. It's our pleasure to be able to give them technology that's going to be able to advance their business, save them money, give them a great return on their investment. That's why we're here.
Yes, and just a little bit here. We finally got live to LinkedIn, so
Woohoo!
I you have to look me up on YouTube. The whole thing is definitely going to be on YouTube. But thank you for everyone who's on LinkedIn, you can put in your comments into the chat, and we will see them, and
Awesome.
we will be able to respond to them. So again, let me give you an intro for the people who missed. This is Heather McLean. She is what is it, CEO, co-CEO of McLean Forrester.
CEO
What?
and co-founder. Yep, I know it's a mouthful, but
Oh, yes. And we are talking about AI and delivering impact, real results with AI, not just, fluff talk. So, and forgive me for that shortened
it's quite all right.
thing interview, but uh, uh, but but let's go ahead and see if we can get this third thing. So I'm holding it with my dominant hand, so I'm using my left hand to pull these elephant ears, while at the same time pulling down. And notice I have my index finger free. This index finger is where I'm going to find the hole. The hole should be there, and then I can just pinch with my index finger and thumb the base of that free
Oh, I found it.
thing, and then I'm using my thumb to put it through that hole, and I just need to push it just enough to get a nice loop. Once I get that loop, I just straighten it out. I hold the end of it so that when I'm tightening it, I'm not pulling it back out, and then boom, I should have a bow tie. Oh no.
Juan, I'm terrible at this.
It's okay. It's okay. I've probably done this thousands of times.
I
I
found the hole this time.
Oh, that's good. You
Okay,
take
but
the
then
whole,
what? What do I do with the hole?
you take the end of that free end. Okay, so I'll do this again. Okay, so
Gotta find the hole again.
see that loose end you have forms the back loop. So you take the base of that loop and you try to put it through that hole. So again, pinch here, and I'm using my thumb to just guide it through that hole. And remember, you're not putting the whole thing through, just enough to get a nice loop. And then once you get that loop, you hold on to the end so you don't accidentally pull it all the way out, and you just tighten it.
Okay. This is not gonna work.
You know what? I
That's
should
okay
probably
though.
learn how to do this with my
I've got
eyes open
I've
so I
got
could.
my elephant here. I'm good.
Oh, look, it's only 12:23.
I will work on this the rest of the day, and we will get
No,
it.
no, we've got what, 35 minutes to get this right. It's okay. We've got more questions and
All
more
right.
stuff here. Oh, you know what? That project of supporting families of sick children clearly meant a lot to you. What did that work teach you about technology's human impact?
Hmm. I mean, that was a really interesting project. We built an app that helped families understand their children's treatment plan day by day, and so these are for really it's a hospital for really sick kids, and the families are generally living there with their kids because they're undergoing treatment, and that's a lot just right there. And so on top of that, they have to manage, we got to be here for this at this time, and you got to go here for this at this time, and you don't know what shuttle to take. And so the app we built helped them kind of manage their daily schedule. It was right there. They could pull it up. Oh, I got to take shuttle 1. I'm going here at 10 o'clock. And it really just helped make their life easier. And that was really, I mean, that isn't that the essence of what we try to build for people. Technology is to make your life easier. And if this could relieve all of that burden of that mental load of trying to remember where to go and what to do for them, then they can really focus their time and energy on their children and their family and just getting better. And to me, that's really why we do what we do. It's just the human aspect of it. You build technology to help. There are lots of reasons to build tech, but that is just the one that really hits at your heart. You're like, okay, this really is why we do what we do.
I get that. I mean, I don't know. I've been a web developer for a long time. A lot of web developers like ad tech,
Yeah.
figuring out how to get more ads, which, but it's nice to build something that has a positive influence in the
Right,
world
right,
and
right.
whatnot. So that's good. So let's see if we can't get back here. Okay, so I have the complete bow tie here, right? Now the front loop is already done. That's your elephant ears. All I'm going to do is pull on this back loop. That takes me back to the elephant. That's that way we're in the same place, right?
Yeah,
And if you pull on the ears,
that's right. Pull on
and
the.
then you said you found the hole. See, boom, boom, boom. And then all I'm doing is I'm pinching with my um, hand. This way I can then use my thumb to just guide that free end through that hole. I hope I'm not losing you. I'm trying to keep my eyes open. I keep closing my eyes when I tie my tie. It's weird, right?
No, you're just doing it based on feel.
I am doing it based on feel, but I need to do it based on telling you.
Oh, I'm so struggling. So once I get here,
Wait,
pull it down,
I wonder if I do this other tie, it'll make it
find
easier.
the hole, and then
And
once
then
I find that hole,
you pull the base of the loose end, and then you put it through that hole.
am I wrapping it under through the hole? Am I wrap this way
It's
or
to the
this way?
side, if that makes any sense. Because if you will have a loop on one side and then a free end on one side. So what you're going to do is you want to have a loop on each side and a free end on one side. So if you've have your free end folded like this, and the way I do it is I fold it from my left to my right, right? That means already going to have a loop on my left end. I push the hole in through the opposite side from the left into the right to create the back loop. Does that make sense? It's not making sense. I have a totally
I'm gonna
different
watch
tie
you.
here. And then I'm just trying to do this in slow motion. But remember, we got to the elephant part.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, that
that
part
part
was
we
fine.
know. So I'm pulling these ears forward. And it's not a diamond tip, so like it's gonna be a little bit more easier to see, but I'm pinching the free loop and
Oh,
see how I'm just pushing it through the side.
I think I just saw what I was doing wrong. Okay.
And so I have a loop on this side and I have a loop on this side. All right. And then when I pull it and tighten it, should look like a bow tie. Oh no.
Trying to find the hole. Trying to find that hole.
Um, oh,
Okay.
it's uh, but let's see. While we're doing that, let's ask another question here.
All right.
Ooh, okay. You worked at the intersection of leadership, logistics, and tech. How do you move between those disciplines while staying grounded in results?
Well, that's a good one. I mean, I think we just focus on the outcomes. That's really what we do. Try to focus on building outcomes that create value. And I mean, the industry doesn't matter a whole lot, right? Because what we're building can cross all sorts of different industries. And so um yeah, I think we just got to focus on the outcomes no matter what it is, and trying to find what that value is that we can provide, and try to get to that value the quickest for the biggest return on that client's investment. So I think it's just where you put your focus at. And especially as a leader, like you've got to really focus on that too and make sure the team is going in that direction. Because sometimes, like you teams will get excited about a certain tech or technology or a certain feature, right? And they can like kind of go down a rabbit hole. And a lot of times you have to bring them back. No, guys, like that's not the thing that's going to give us the most value right now. We need to focus on this. So I think it's just trying to put your mind in the customer's perspective and get to them the fastest thing that's going to give them the most value the quickest. And that's kind of like just what we do in Agile, right?
Oh yeah, of course. And one thing I like about the agile process is how getting feedback from the user is part of the process, right? One
Yep.
thing about waterfall is like theoretically you're gathering up all that data in advance, but I'm a huge proponent of believing that um, you don't know what you want until you get it,
Right.
if that makes any
Oh,
sense.
that's exactly what we find every time. You might think you have all the requirements up front, but you never do. Even in waterfall, you're going to run into areas where you didn't think of this or that, or problems you couldn't have expected. And so we just plan for that, and we keep the collaboration going. And by meeting every week and talking about where we're at and giving the client choices and letting them make the decision on the direction, that's how you're going to get to the ultimate thing that they really want.
Nice, nice, nice. And don't feel bad. I don't know if you can see the comments here, but the comments are very supportive here.
I
And
actually can't see the comments. Maybe I didn't
you
leave.
can't see the comments?
Oh, there they are. Okay. Oh, thanks, Robert. I think he's one of our biggest fans, you and I.
Okay, well that's good. That's good. That's good. Let's see. I'm gonna try to do this with this here. Again, I'm trying to make sure I don't accidentally get my what you call. I usually wear wireless headphones at home. I might have to acquire some, but I don't want to accidentally tie the wire in here. But let's see, we'll do this again. Let's see, and don't worry, I can. Well, no, I could technically do this all day, but we only have an hour. You know, cross over, pull down, elephant here, and let's see. Uh, I'm hold on. I think where I'm messing up here is as I'm going way too far ahead, and I don't want to lose you.
I get the elephant. I get to that point and then I get stuck with the whole,
Yeah,
with
but the
what's
elephant
next.
is good. When you I can always tell when you have a good elephant, that's going to be a good tie. You know. So and then it's not too hard to do it. It's just I don't know. It's something different. So, okay. So now you've got it. You pull forward on the ears while at the
That's
same
right.
time pulling down on the trunk. Okay. And see, I'm using my free finger to find that hole. Okay. Did you find the hole?
Okay.
And then you put pinch to the side and see when you pinch it, right? You've got your fingers holding that hole open, and then you've got your fabric right in there. Okay, do you
Am
have
I
that?
going up through the hole or am I going
It
over?
should be side. So the hole, it's a hole. You're not hitting your neck. You're not hitting the bows. But there's, from what I understand, it should only be one hole. Um, and then you can, once you have that, you touch your
Look,
thumb to your finger. So I've got a sandwich. That way I can kind of push it through that hole. So when I pull it open, I've got a nice little loop forming. Boom. Oh no, I
desperate not to do
frustrated
this
you.
well. No, no, no. I'm gonna get it.
Uh, let's see. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's
Long over short, right?
yes, long or short. Let
Okay.
me see. I'm gonna fold down my collar here if I can. It's funny because every Thursday I have one tie and then I switch to the other tie.
Do you wear a tie
Either,
every day?
no, just on Thursdays.
Oh,
Thursday is my podcast day. You know, the dress code here is very relaxed. So
nice.
normally I wear
You're
a
the best
t-shirt.
dressed fellow in your office today.
I wouldn't say that. No. There's people. I'm wearing shorts. You can't tell, but it's hot down here. It's 90 something,
Oh,
and the humidity makes it feel like 100. Um,
Okay.
but
I'm going to the elephant. I got my elephant
there you go.
and I'm looking for my hole. Got the hole.
Then pull the base of it through there. So like you see the back loop has a loop here, and it's the opposite side of where this front loop is. Does that make sense?
I think so now, conceptually.
There you go.
Well, okay. Do I bring this piece through the
No, no,
top?
no, 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 no,
Okay.
no.
You're tucking
Because
it
you only
under.
have two loops. Your front loop you already have in your hand. Your
Got it.
back loop you're forming. So all you do is pull on that loop to get the and your free end just stays here.
You ever do that experiment where you have people write down instructions and make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Oh no, I've never done that. How does that work?
It usually works terribly because inevitably you don't even think about all the steps as you're writing it down, and it usually turns out really awful. And then the lesson is like how hard it is to translate requirements into real, like what you actually need to do into real work.
Yes, I
And
get
so
that.
you end up with like this sandwich that looks nothing like a sandwich when you're done.
Oh, do they get an actual person to try to follow this
Yep.
instructions
So
too?
that's like a really fun exercise you can do as a team building thing where you like have a group of people write down all the instructions and then they think they got it. And then you have another team of people try to follow the instructions and it's a disaster and it's so fun because you realize instantly that there's so many things you missed or you said incorrectly, like you just gave bad directions. It's a lot of fun to do.
I'm gonna ask a really crazy question. Are these programmers? Computer programmers?
No, it's fun to do with clients actually because it helps them understand how hard it is
I
sometimes.
feel like if you did computer programmers, you
It
might
might
get
be better.
slightly different
Yeah.
results.
All
Because I
right.
would say, you gather your ingredients, and that's its own subroutine right there.
Right.
See, I'm already messing up. You gather ingredients. You open your jars. Does it get that granular?
You
Or
have to, right? You have to tell them every little step. You open your jars, and then what would you do next? Take your knife and get
that
the
would be
peanut butter in your
hilarious.
knife, and then spread it on only one side of the bread. And like, there's so many little things there.
Oh, oh no! Like I said, I don't know. I feel like because I don't know. I feel like the first thing they teach you when you're doing like a programming class is they teach you how like a computer, I don't know, doesn't understand loops like the way a human does. Something insane. Like
Yeah.
wash, rinse, repeat is an infinite loop. Whereas in, on your shampoo, you understand that the repeat is repeat once. Something like that.
Okay, Juan, I'm done.
Oh, you know what? Let's get to the easy part. Let's
I'm
ask
going to
it.
go to YouTube after this and watch more videos on how to do it. And I will learn this by the end of the day. I'm determined.
Well, let me tell you this though. Where I got the elephant, parrot, and all that stuff, that was from the YouTube video that I showed
That
my
part works
groomsmen.
well. Yeah.
And because I had to try to teach them all how to tie a bow tie. And it was crazy because I was thinking like, why? I don't I told them in advance. But sometimes telling people and having them do stuff, not the same thing.
Right. Like the peanut butter and jelly exercise.
Yes, exactly. You know what? You've mentioned values like integrity, empathy, and service. In a world chasing speed and scale, how do you stay anchored to those principles?
I mean, I think that's what distinguishes us from other companies is our groundedness in our, culture of service and integrity and, you know, how do I stay anchored? I think part of it is surrounding myself with, my executive team and everyone that works here. If they have the same values and culture, so we're constantly reinforcing each other, constantly checking each other. Oh, is that a good idea? And I always love to use the headline test, which is like, if you're going to say or do something, ask yourself, would this withstand being a newspaper headline? Heather McLean says so-and-so, right? Or says whatever. Heather McLean does this. And if you would not want to see that thing or that thing you said in a headline, don't do it. That's your test right there. Like, that's a bad idea.
Like, what do you mean? Like it's embarrassing? Like, I don't
Or maybe
understand.
something that you might decide to do, you think it's a great idea at the time. Like, let's just take something outlandish, like using the company credit card for something it's not intended for, right? Like, if you're thinking, I might go buy this is just obviously an extreme example, right? Would you want to see a headline, Joe B goes and buys car on company credit card? If you read that headline in your mind and you say, oh yeah, I wouldn't want that headline to be out there.
Yeah, I
And
feel
it's
like
a good
they
test.
simplify that headline and say, "Well, I don't know. My mind is oversimplifying it. I'm thinking embezzlement, jail. I don't want that. No."
Right. But life is full of lots of gray areas, right? And if you think about it that way, like, would this be a headline I would be comfortable with my clients seeing? Would this be a headline I would be comfortable with, my people seeing, the people that work in my company? If it makes you squirmish or it makes you say, then it's probably a gray area you don't want to go into. So it's just a good test for me, and it's worked in the past for when I kind of coach people through those situations.
I get you. It's almost like, if they were looking and seeing what I was doing, would they be okay with that?
Right. Yeah, that's kind of it's a good integrity test, I guess, too, right? And I think about integrity as like doing the right thing when no one's looking, and that's hard to do all the time. But I think it's a standard that at least we live by, here at McLean Forrester.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Tell me, looking ahead, what excites you most about the future of tech-enabled leadership?
I love the idea that all of these new capabilities coming out are going to free up leaders to really focus on leading. You're not going to be doing mundane tasks anymore. At least you shouldn't be. You should have, this should free up our brain space for those big things to think about, strategy and what's next, right? And then, that's from a leadership perspective. And I guess from a what's going to come next perspective, I'm super excited to see what's going to happen over the next 10 years in like medical diagnosis, drug development. Just, I think in the next 10 years, we're going to see some major advancements in how we treat and diagnose people with diseases that we have struggled to battle over the last, 50 years. So I'm excited about that. To me, it's like a whole new frontier for medicine.
Oh, nice. And let me ask, what do you think needs to change for us to, get to that future?
Oh, I would love to see us put some like AI ethical standards in place, as a country. Like, you see the EU leading the way here in some of those areas, and I don't see much happening on the US side of things. And so I think it's important to put those guardrails in place. We don't want to end up in Jurassic Park type scenarios where we just do the things because we can. Just because you can do something doesn't mean it's a good idea. So I'd like us to think a little bit more clearly and have some guidelines in place to make sure we're making good decisions around AI.
But I don't know. It feels like it's, how can I say this? A hard thing, because
Yeah,
it's not like the US is the only entity pursuing AI.
right. And there's a lot of gray area around it that's going to continue to evolve. And I think we just continue to need to ask ourselves, is this the right thing to do? And, help that guide our decisions.
Yes, yes. But I don't know. How do you do the right thing when others aren't necessarily doing the right thing?
I know. I mean, maybe it goes back to the span of what's within the span of your control, right? You can only control some things right directly near you. And so you do your best to control those things. And maybe you can be a part of larger decision making for larger groups and kind of help influence some of those guidelines and rules. That's not a new dilemma. I think, is how do we make good decisions for everybody, and how do you control when these people are making these types of decisions versus this group that's making different decisions. So those aren't new things. I think are just things we have to continue to work through.
Okay, that makes sense. Though, I don't know. Well, I don't want to get like too, what's the word, specific. But are there any particular challenges that you see people are facing with AI right now?
Well, I mean, I think in the news just this week, another deep fake with some, I think it was involved Marco Rubio and some like use of the Signal app. Like people had done some deep fake impersonations of him, supposedly using Signal to reach out to other, people in other countries. So, I mean, that's already happening. And so it's going to get worse. People recreating your likeness, or creating. People could recreate this podcast using AI with maybe not saying great things that we'd want to be our characters to be saying. So I think we're already seeing some of the negative side effects of the technology.
Oh, wow, yeah. And then of course there's the you can what is it? Claim that anything that did happen is deep fake. you know?
That wasn't really me.
Yeah, yeah. If I say something I didn't mean to say, I'm like, oh no, that was
That
AI.
was a deep fake. Yeah.
That was a deep fake.
I don't know how that would hold up in court, but how
Well,
would you prove it,
but
right?
that's the thing, though. It's like the nature of truth.
Hmm.
The- right now, well, there used to be a time where you see it on tape, and there you go, there's your proof.
Right.
Now it's
I
like,
believe
well, you
that.
see it on tape. That wasn't me. That's AI.
Right. I
You
mean,
know.
maybe we should be labeling everything that's made with AI as such.
I
That's one
feel like
extreme.
that's harder than, I don't know. I feel like that's a complicated thing,
Yeah. That's one of those
because
issues.
I feel like AI is going to touch so much stuff
Mhm.
that like everything is going to have
Right.
a little bit of AI in it.
Right. I mean, I had an example in software development is I've had a client say, well, we don't want you to use any AI tooling. We don't want any AI code. I don't think you're going to be able to operate that way for much longer, because now almost every company I talk to, they're integrating those code assist tools, into their daily processes, and they're very helpful. And so to be able to say to a developer, you can't use those tools, is really going to hinder their abilities in the future. Probably already is right now. So
I would argue that, well, I don't know, being a developer myself, I would say, you don't commit anything that you yourself don't understand, you
right,
know? And there's a difference between, say, I'm using an AI tool to build the scaffolding for, or, do the boilerplate stuff, the
right,
mundane stuff, the same thing that you've mentioned, right? As far as leaders being free to think about higher level things and think about strategy. I
mhm,
believe the same thing applies to really all domains where AI is, right?
right,
It frees up people to do the more fun, more interesting, higher level aspects of their jobs. And I think that the issue shouldn't be, well, no, let's not use AI, but
right,
don't use AI to replace your understanding. But that should probably be the baseline for everything you do. I mean,
right.
I'd hate to have the headline, Juan Voice doesn't understand anything. Outsources all of his
Exactly.
decision making and thoughts to AI. You
Right.
know?
There's a human in the loop. I think that's still needed. It'll be interesting to see if that's always going to be needed. But at least right now, you want to be checking. I think whatever your code is it's coming out of that tool, you probably want to be looking at it and understanding it.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe it's me. I can't imagine not reading code, if that makes any sense. The only code I don't read is if it comes out of a library, and it's like,
Right.
okay, I'm not going to read all the header files that are linked in my computer, which in its own way is potentially a security risk.
Right. So, I mean, 5 years down the road, will we treat AI code like you treat a library? Oh, it's good. We take it, we use it. Don't know. It depends on how far it advances and how many times it's wrong. And, but I could see a world where you trust it more and more as you go forward.
Well, it's like anything else, right? As you mentioned before, right? It's like web or cloud, right? And there was a time when web was new, and we said, "Well, I don't know if I want to buy anything on the internet,"
Right.
right?
Right.
And then there was a time when cloud was new, and they're like, "I don't know if I can trust anything that's not on premises."
Right. And now
You know?
it's second nature.
Yeah,
So,
now everything's on the cloud.
mhm.
If you have, I don't know, it's almost like why would you want to be trying to run your own servers?
It's
That's
expensive. Yeah, and it's a lot of maintenance, and you might not have the right skill sets, and there's a lot of reasons, but there are security reasons as well for some companies to do that, and at least that
yes,
option's still
but
there.
that makes sense. But like in any and with tech being the way it is, you need people who are on the forefront of those technologies so that not only can you implement that for that competitive advantage, you can implement it in the right way, you
Right.
know and
Right.
it's great to have McLean Forrester out there being ahead of the curve, helping their clients to integrate the AI in a way
Right.
that's responsible, in a way that they're not repeating mistakes, and
Mhm.
actually using it to get that competitive advantage that where they're where the competition is not doing.
Right. And I think right now, if you are not already experimenting with these technologies or pursuing, help from someone who knows what they're doing, you're already behind because your competition is already using this. And, we were doing some research for small and medium sized businesses. Customers are wanting the same digital experience, the same features from small companies as they are from big companies. So you are competing with those bigger companies, even if you might not realize it from a consumer perspective. We expect the same things. So if you're not going to be moving forward in those areas, taking advantage of the new technology, you're just going to get left behind. And that's what we keep trying to tell people, like, take that AI leap, invest in it, experiment, do some prototypes. You can run some small prototypes to see if can we do this with AI, before you invest lots of money. That's where we would want to start, most times, is something small that we can show the value, give you something that you think, we know will work, and then we build out the bigger thing if there's the value there.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think is the basis for I guess companies being afraid of AI, and being hesitant to integrate it?
I think what we're hearing is they're worried about security. They're worried about, just being safe and having their data exposed, because once it's out there, it's out there. And that is a huge concern, right? You need to be doing it smartly. And that's another reason to bring in an expert, bring in someone who knows what they're doing here, so you don't end up at those headlines. You've seen it. We've all seen them popping up here and there. The airline website that gives bad advice on certain policies and things like that, and then they get sued. It's happening. So you've got to be careful. Definitely the concern is security, but I do think you've got to take a little risk here. You've got to try to do it in a safe way, or you're going to get left behind.
Yeah, I guess the real risk is your competition, using the tool, learning the tool, and
Right.
what is it, out competing you?
Right. I mean, I think that's almost a larger risk than the security aspect of it at this point. You're gonna become, what's the word? Uh,
Irrelevant, obsolete.
Irrelevant, obsolete. Great words. Thank you. Yeah. And then you don't have a business at all. So, take the leap.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Let me ask this. Well, I don't know. Like, how do you ease your clients' concerns about security and their fears or whatnot, or Are they coming to you and they're already ready? How does that work?
Um, I think those are two different clients, right? Like one client is I'm not sure, and so then we have to talk about why how can we make it secure? What are those things we can do to mitigate those risks? And so that's one conversation. The other one, I think, is the one who's ready, and then you're really talking about what are the projects we can do that are going to bring you value, and you're trying to go down that road. At the same time, though, you're also building in the security. So two very different conversations with two very different clients there, but you can approach it from multiple angles and make sure everybody's comfortable.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
And you know what? Let me think. Well, I think that's we're getting close to the end of our time. Is there anything else that we want to mention that we haven't covered?
I don't know, just give our pitch, that we are passionate about AI and emerging technology. We not only build those type of solutions, we're great at IT and data strategy, modernization, and really just custom solution development. That's our sweet spot. I mean, this is where it's such an exciting time to be in technology because of everything that's new and coming out. And when we see the new things, we dive right in because it's just an exciting place. And those are the kind of people we hire, people that are really wanting to work on the edge of the bleeding edge of technology. And it's exciting. It's just not your average routine kind of software development. It's exciting, and we're always learning new things, and it's always different. Everything you're going to build for a client is going to be different from one to the next, and just putting that customer value in the forefront. That's really our focus.
Yes, of course. I think that's what ultimately matters, right? Customer value. You're trying to create value, more value than your billings.
Exactly. Otherwise, there's no point in hiring the person. So,
Right. Otherwise, there is no point. But thank you for being here and talking about AI and
it's been
leadership
fun.
and all that fun stuff. And we'll be here next week.
All right.
So I forgot I don't know the tie, but that's okay.
It's okay. I'm gonna keep working at it. I'll send you a picture when I finally get it. And
Oh, no, we take a picture right after. We take a picture
okay.
right after.
Well,
Right. So I'm going to end the stream, but stay right there for the audience. But we'll see you next time.
all righty. Bye, everybody.